My name is Lucia, and this is the story of a day that changed everything for me. It was a day wrapped in sadness, yet it bloomed into something unexpected, something beautiful, something I'll carry with me forever. It's about me and Hilary, my 50-year-old neighbor, a man whose charm and quiet strength pulled me into a moment I never saw coming. We swore to keep it a secret, and even now, as I write this, my heart races at the memory of it. It all started on a rainy afternoon in our small town, where the houses sat close together, their porches practically whispering secrets to one another. I was 25, living alone in a cozy little apartment I'd rented after moving out of my parents' place. Life was simple but heavy that day. My best friend, Clara, had just left for a job across the country, and I felt like a piece of my heart had gone with her. The rain tapping against my window seemed to echo the ache in my chest. Hilary lived next door in a house that always smelled faintly of cedarwood and coffee. He was a widower, kind but reserved, with silver streaks in his dark hair and eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 untold stories. He was the kind of man who waved politely when he saw you but didn't linger in small talk unless you started it. I'd always found him intriguing, though. There was something magnetic about him. Maybe it was the way he carried himself, confident but never arrogant, or the way his deep voice seemed to wrap around you like a warm blanket when he spoke. That afternoon, I was sitting on my porch, wrapped in a sweater, watching the rain fall in soft sheets. I wasn't crying, but my eyes were heavy, and my heart felt like it was sinking. I didn't notice Hilary at first, not until he stepped out onto his own porch with a steaming mug in his hand. He glanced over, and I must have looked as miserable as I felt because he called out, "Lucia, you okay over there?" I forced a smile. "Just feeling a bit down. Rainy days, you know?" He nodded, his eyes softening. "Rain can do that. Want some company?" "I've got coffee." I hesitated. I barely knew Hilary beyond our occasional chats about the weather or the stray cat that roamed our street. But something in his voice, warm and steady, made me nod. "Sure. That'd be nice." He disappeared inside for a moment and came back with another mug. Before I knew it, I was sitting on his porch, the two of us under the overhang, the rain pattering softly around us. The coffee was strong, just the way I liked it, and it warmed my hands as I held the mug. We didn't say much at first, just sat there, watching the world blur behind the rain. But the silence wasn't awkward, it was comforting, like we didn't need words to understand each other. "You want to talk about it?" he asked after a while, his voice gentle. I sighed, staring into my coffee. "My best friend moved away today. Clara. We've been inseparable since we were kids, and now, it feels like I'm alone." He leaned back in his chair, his gaze fixed on the rain. "Losing someone close, even if they're just moving, it's like losing a piece of yourself." "I get it." I glanced at him, curious. "You've lost someone too, haven't you?" He nodded slowly, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. "My wife, Sarah. 5 years ago. Cancer. Some days, it still feels like yesterday." My heart ached for him. I didn't know what to say, so I just reached out and touched his arm lightly. "I'm so sorry, Hilary." He gave me a small smile, one that didn't quite reach his eyes but was warm all the same. "Thank you. It gets easier, but it never really goes away. You learn to carry it." We sat there for a long time, talking about Clara, about Sarah, about the little things that made life feel heavy and the little things that made it worth living. Hilary had a way of listening that made you feel like every word you said mattered. He didn't interrupt or try to fix things, he just listened, his eyes steady and kind. And when he spoke, his stories were like windows into a life full of love, loss, and quiet strength. He told me about the time he and Sarah went camping and got lost in the woods, laughing until they found their way back at dawn. He told me about the first time he tried to bake bread and ended up with something closer to a rock. I laughed, and for the first time that day, the weight in my chest felt a little lighter. As the afternoon turned to evening, the rain slowed to a drizzle, and the air grew cooler. I realized I didn't want to leave. There was something about being near Hilary, something that made me feel safe and understood in a way I hadn't expected. I think he felt it too, because when I stood to go, he said, "You don't have to leave, you know. I've got soup on the stove. Nothing fancy, but it's warm." I smiled, my heart doing a little flip. Soup sounds perfect. Inside, His house was exactly what I'd imagined, cozy, lived in, with books stacked on every surface and a faint smell of wood smoke from the fireplace. We ate vegetable soup at his small kitchen table, and I couldn't help but notice the way his hands moved, steady and sure, as he passed me the bread. He was older than me, yes, but there was a vitality to him, a spark that made him seem timeless. I caught myself staring at him more than once, and every time our eyes met, my cheeks warmed. After dinner, we moved to the living room, where he lit a fire. The glow of the flames danced across the walls, casting soft shadows. We sat on the couch, closer than we'd been on the porch, and the air felt charged, like something was shifting between us. I don't know when I decided to stay, but I did. Maybe it was the way he looked at me, like I was more than just the girl next door. Maybe it was the way his voice softened when he said my name. Or maybe it was my own curiosity, my own need to feel something other than sadness. "Lucia," he said, his voice low, "I'm glad you're here." I swallowed, my heart pounding. "Me too." He reached out, his hand brushing mine, and I didn't pull away. His touch was warm, grounding, and it sent a shiver through me. I looked into his eyes, and there was something there, something deep and unspoken, a mix of longing and hesitation. I felt it too, that pull, that question hanging in the air. "I shouldn't," he said quietly, almost to himself. "You're so young, and I'm just an old man who lives next door." I laughed softly, shaking my head. "You're not old, Hilary. And you're not just anything. You're you." He smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. "You're something else, Lucia." I don't know who moved first, maybe it was me, maybe it was him, but suddenly we were closer, our faces inches apart. My heart was racing, but I wasn't scared. I was curious, drawn to him in a way I couldn't explain. When he kissed me, it was soft at first, tentative, like he was giving me a chance to pull away. But I didn't. I kissed him back, and it felt like the world fell away, leaving just the two of us in the glow of the fire. We didn't plan for what happened next. It wasn't rushed or reckless, it was slow, careful, like we both knew this moment was fragile and precious. When we ended up sharing his bed that night, it wasn't just about desire. It was about connection, about finding something real in the midst of our separate griefs. His hands were gentle, his voice a soft murmur in the dark, and I felt cherished in a way I'd never known. I could tell he felt it too, the way he held me, the way he whispered my name like it was a prayer. We were two people who'd been carrying heavy burdens, and for one night, we set them down together. When morning came, I woke up in his arms, the sunlight streaming through the curtains. For a moment, I was afraid of what we'd done, afraid of what it meant. But then he opened his eyes, and the way he looked at me, so warm and unguarded, chased the fear away. "We can't tell anyone," I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, his hand brushing a strand of hair from my face. "I know. This is ours." And so we kept it a secret. In the days that followed, we went back to being neighbors, waving across the fence, chatting about the weather. But there was a new layer to it, a shared understanding that no one else could see. Sometimes, when no one was around, he'd catch my eye and smile, and my heart would skip a beat. Other times, I'd find a note slipped under my door, a simple "thinking of you" in his neat handwriting, and I'd smile for hours. I loved the experience, and I know he did too. It wasn't just about that one night, it was about the way we saw each other, really saw each other, in a world that often felt too busy to notice. Hilary was charming, magnetic, and so much more than the quiet man next door. And me. I was just Lucia, a girl trying to find her way, who stumbled into something beautiful on a rainy day. We never spoke of it again, not directly, but we didn't need to. What we shared was ours, a secret woven into the fabric of our lives, a memory that made the world a little brighter, even when the rain came again.